In February of 2019, we were introduced to the 8th generation of Pokemon. This installment into the franchise was to be set in the Galar region, a region based on the United Kingdom. The story of this generation was met with mass criticism and outlash, as well as the series' most daring choices yet. But how did we get here? Hello everyone, my name is KamTendo, and with Pokémon Scarlet and Violet on the horizon, I figured we'd go back in time and review Gen 8's history, from its initial reveal to Pokémon Legends Arceus. This may be a lengthy video, so sit back and get cozy. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, comment down below what you thought of Generation 8. I have very special guests here, so without further ado, let's dive into the history of Generation 8, Pokemon's most controversial generation yet. Our story brings us to February of 2019. Fans were coming off rather lackluster games that were Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee. The second, third, fourth Kanto-based game, they really won't let it die, huh? Anyways, an announcement for a Pokemon Direct were imminent, and fans were hungry for the next mainline games. While Let's Go were technically the first mainline games to be featured on Switch, we were hungry for the next generation. And on February 26th, we got the announcement of the next Pokemon Direct. This was it, the thing that we've all been waiting for. A new region, new characters, more importantly, new Pokemon. Poketubers and news sources fled to the scene. To Pokemon fans, February 26th was our Christmas Eve. Rumors fled internet forums. Fans rampant with speculation. And then the day came. On the 27th of February, Pokemon Day, fans from all over the world had their eyes glued to a live stream. It was a 7-minute long presentation. It opened up with the usual stuff, talking about how the series has evolved over the years and how they hope to do more, and then we were introduced to it. I remember lying to my teacher and telling her that I had to go to the bathroom because I had severe diarrhea, to then run into a stall and watch this direct. Yeah, sorry about that, Mrs. Smith. Anyways, the director of this game was not Masuda, surprisingly, but would be directed by Shigeru Omori. This game was set to take place in a Galar region, a vast countryside region, and we were introduced to our 3 starter Pokemon, Scorbunny, Grookey, and Sobble. They then ended the direct by stating that they plan to make this the best Pokemon experience yet. We'll of course see how right they were on this later in the video, but for now, this was our first look into Generation 8. Of course, the fanbase exploded with excitement, and I mean, it was a new generation, why wouldn't it? Fan art and memes filled the internet, and the following days were filled with mostly positive reception. And that was it. We didn't get any major information for a very long while. We did get small updates, like for example in March we learned that the stadiums that were on the map were indeed gyms, and in April we learned that a Japanese magazine, that being CoroCoro, launched a competition to decide the name of a new Steel type move, which us international fans now know as Steel Beam. In May, another Japanese competition commenced where the winner would have their design included into the game as a shirt. The competition was to end in June, however the competition concluded with no winner due to the actual winner being disqualified for having their entry being sold as a commercial product beforehand. No winner was chosen due to this, and thus we never saw any of the submitted designs implemented into the game. And honestly, it was starting to look very grim for Sword and Shield. Fans were used to trailer after trailer with the prior generation being Gen 7, but May did give us a small glimmer of hope. On May 27th, a Pokemon Direct was announced to be held on June 5th, with news pertaining to Sword and Shield. Not only that, but a press conference was held on May 29th. During said press conference, several games were revealed. Among these were the elusive Detective Pikachu 2 and Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Masters, and of course Pokemon Home, a subscription-based service that allowed players to store their Pokemon from the 3DS version of Pokemon Bank to a new and improved system. The remainder of May was quiet, with fans eagerly awaiting the 5th of June. And then it happened. The Pokemon Direct that gave us our first actual taste of news within the games. It was a 3-minute long trailer that gave us a long explanation on the game's newest gimmick, that being Dynamax, a strange phenomenon that caused the Pokemon to grow massive in size. We also learned about the Wild Area, an open-ish area within the game's map, And while looking back at it now, while it wasn't all that exciting, I remember being extremely hyped when I first saw this revealed. We were also introduced to our characters, such as Hop, our rival, Leon, our newest champion, Sonia and Magnolia, our two professors, and Milo, our babyface gym leader, and a source of a lot of memes during that time. In terms of new Pokemon, we were introduced to Gossifleur, the evolution of Eldegoss, who was also revealed, Wooloo, Corviknight, Dreadnought, and of course the game's leading legendary Pokemon, Zacian and Zamazenta. Fans were celebrating with the new arrivals with fan art, memes, and of course the best part, there was more to come. It was confirmed that Pokemon Sword and Shield would have a playable demo at E3, so those in attendance could play what was shown off at the time. Things were looking up. The fan base hype was at an all-time high. Although months leading up to June were very lackluster with news, things are starting to align with previous marketing cycles like they used to. The future was very bright for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Until that fateful day. June 11th was here, and Pokemon fans were eager to test out the demo for Pokemon Sword and Shield. The demo was rather simple though. It was a water-type gym, which by the way, we were introduced to our new gym leader, Nessa, who was probably, at the time, the source of a lot of interesting fan art, and we were introduced to our fairy-type Pokemon, Impidimp, and another Pokemon, an electric-type dog named Yamper. While this day was looking to be good, it fell apart rather fast. Masuda and Omori appeared on a Pokemon Treehouse segment where they showed off more gameplay of the wild area. This again had players very excited for the game. Treehouse Live was going very well until the very end. Masuda made an announcement that shook up the community as we know it.
1匹ずつ大切にクオリティを上げてバトルバランスもとって限られた開発期間の中で最新作をお届けするためにどうするかっていうのは長い間議論を重ねてきました。
At Game Freak, we really spent a lot of time thinking about what the best way to move forward was, really preserving the quality of all the different Pokemon, while also, taking into account the battle balance, having so many different Pokemon available, all within, a limited development time, so we don't keep fans waiting too long for every new entry in the series.
その結果、今作から対応方針を変えることにしました。
And after a lot of discussion, we decided to come to kind of a new direction.
つまりですね、ポケモンホームとソードシールドの間を行き来できるポケモンをガラル図鑑に登場するポケモンに絞ることにしました。
And so what that means for Pokemon Sword and Shield is that players will be able to transfer their Pokemon from Pokemon Home only if they appear in the Galar region Pokedex.
In a later interview with USA Gamer, Junichi Masuda elaborated on his decision by stating that
there are a couple of different parts to the thinking behind it, but really, the biggest reason for it is just the sheer number of Pokemon. We already have well over 800 Pokemon species, and there are going to be more added in these games. And now that they're on Nintendo Switch, we're creating it with much higher fidelity, with much higher quality animations, but even more than that, it's coming down to the battle system. We're making sure we can keep everything balanced and give all the Pokemon that appear in the game a chance to shine. We knew at some point we weren't going to be able to indefinitely keep supporting all of the Pokemon, and we just found that Sword and Shield would probably be a good point to go back and reevaluate what would be the best selection of Pokemon that appeal to the widest audience while keeping into consideration the balance of the battle system. It isn't going to be an all-new Pokemon in Galar region Pokedex. It's still going to be a lot of favorites that fans will be able to bring over that they've adventured with previously. But yeah, it was pretty much just balancing and getting the optimal selection of Pokemon for the adventure we wanted to provide.
In the later Famitsu article, it was stated that there are no plans to implement the missing Pokemon into the game via patches like that of Yokai Watch 4 that was releasing in the same year. However, those that were missing would have an active role in Pokemon Home as trade fodder because it's 2022 now and they still ain't active yet, Game Freak. This controversy caused a huge, and I mean a huge tear within the community. People were dissecting Sword and Shield's gameplay left and right, saying that the animations that they claimed to be worth the cut were not up to par. Fans messaging Masuda and Omori and other Game Freak staff pleading and demanding that they reverse this decision. Implement small patches, anything. Hashtag bring back the national decks, Dexit, and other movements were created to help combat this decision. Some fans saying that this isn't acceptable, while others are saying that it was a needed change. Some were just saying to cut more Pokemon just despite the protesters. It was utter chaos. Then, on June 28, the Pokemon Company put out an official statement on the matter.
Thank you to all of our fans for caring so deeply about Pokemon. Recently, I shared the news that some Pokemon cannot be transferred to Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. I've read all of your comments and appreciate your love and passion for Pokemon. Just like all of you, we were passionate about Pokemon, and each and every one of them is very important to us. After so many years of developing the Pokemon video games, this was a very difficult decision for me. I'd like to make one thing clear. Even if a specific Pokemon is not available in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, that does not mean it will not appear in future games. The world of Pokemon continues to evolve. The Galar region offers new Pokemon to encounter, trainers to battle, and adventures to embark on. We are pouring our hearts into these games, and we hope you will look forward to joining us on this new journey.
This was their final statement on the matter, which didn't really say much. It kind of just summed up as, "We hear your concerns, however, we don't care." For the protesters, it was a slap in the face. For supporters, it was a pat on the head. No one really won with this. News was rather still until the 9th of July. We were given our next big batch of information. This revealed that of Gigantamax, or Gmax for short, which were new forms that were given to both new and existing Pokemon. They acted pretty much like Mega Evolutions, but bigger and somehow weaker, but some being cool. We also got introduced to both Bee and Alistair, our first version exclusive gym leaders, if you don't count Drayden and Iris from Black and White. And then 2 new Pokemon, being Alcremie and Duraludon, who was shown to the user of the new Steel type move mentioned earlier in the documentary. Oh, and Japan also got a 7-net jumpsuit for the game, which is nice. I don't think anybody else got that. I could be wrong though, correct me in the comments. On June 10, a Switch Lite was revealed with a limited time edition Sword and Shield edition model. I don't say much other than it's a cool looking Switch, but I feel like it would look a lot better on a base Switch model rather than a Lite. But hey, I mean, make that money, Game Freak. On August 7th, a new trailer was revealed showcasing 2 more rivals, that being Marnie and Bede, and also Team Yell, the biggest mistake in the franchise. Oh, and they revealed Galarian forms as well as regional evolutions for said forms, that being Obstagoon being the evolution of Galarian Linoon. It was also revealed that these Linoon and Zigzagoons are the original variants, and that the Hoennian line were the true regional variants, which I thought was kinda cool. Now might be an appropriate time to bring this up, but during all of this, an old leak from 4chan resurfaced that was dubbed the Ben Affleck leak. This leak went on to state a lot of the information that was known prior to prior to all these trailers, and it's just really cool to think that a leak on 4chan revealed all of this and we didn't stumble upon it until this trailer, I believe. I could be, again, wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comments. On August 16th, the Pokemon World Championship commenced and it revealed a new trailer showing off new moves and abilities for those that were interested in that. On August 20th, Shogaru Omori shared more information on the Galar region as a whole. It was revealed that the Pokemon Global Link service would end service in 2020. I mean, I never used it, but that's kinda sad for those that did. On September 1st, the 8th generation Pokemon anime was revealed titled Pokemon 2019, dubbed Pokemon Journeys for the rest of the world. This name taking the series back to its 1997 roots. Ash travels not only to Galar, but to all the previous regions. I'll bring this up later in the video. I won't elaborate much on it further because this video is specifically focused on the video game news rather than the anime news. On September 4th, a new trailer was revealed showing off a new feature being Pokemon Camp, where you can cook yummy food for your Pokemon. It was just curry. Customization options were also revealed, and 2 new Pokemon being Poltegeist and Cramorant, the best Pokemon of this generation. Just kidding. On September 13th, the Pokemon website showed a glitchy image of an unknown Pokemon. On September 18th, we were revealed 2 the glitchy Pokemon being Surfetch'd, the evolution for Galarian Farfetch'd. He was pretty cool. On September 27th, an announcement for a 24-hour live stream to be set in an in-game area called the Kalimba Tango was revealed. Surely nothing can go wrong with On October 1st, a Game Informer interview was held, and millions of people grabbed from this the assumption that the game had 18 gems due to a translation error. On October 3rd, Game Informer clarified that there weren't 18 gems gameplay-wise, but there were 18 gems lore-wise, and people got very upset over this for some reason. On October 10th, the 24-hour live stream began, and it was the most excruciating thing Game Freak had ever done. I hope they never do this again. Honestly, I got a big headache and it was a giant waste of time. However, the journey was fun. The end result was that Galarian Ponyta and Rapidash were revealed. On October 12th, the Pokemon released gameplay of the town known as Postwood, our starting-ish town, I would say. On October 16th, the latest trailer revealed Gigantamax Pikachu, Eevee, Meowth, Butterfree, and Charizard for some reason. And on October 25th, a Japanese overview trailer was revealed. On November 1st, a special promotional trailer was showcased, and on November 6th, the English overview trailer was revealed, and on that same day, a 1-minute trailer showcasing items was shown off for some reason. October 11th, the Galar Research recap was announced that revealed Galarian, Mr. Mime, and Mr. Mime's evolution, because we needed that apparently, and Runerigus, who we did need. November 15th was here. Pokemon Sword and Shield were released. Everyone were rushing to get it. I didn't get it until after because I had a football game to play. I mean, not really, I was in band. But despite the controversy, the game did sell well. But however, I, along with other people, have problems that I will not elaborate on because this is a history video and not a rant video. But this does end the Pokemon Sword and Shield promotional era. I will be taking a break. Thank you guys so much for listening to my portion of the video. I'm gonna hand this over to a special guest, that being Lumiel's Post. Take it away, Lumi.
Thanks, Cam, and thanks for having me on this video where we look back at the great generation of Generation 8. So now the year is 2020. It's a brand new year. And while fans were definitely expecting the announcements of the Generation 4 remakes, Game Freak had other plans. On January 7th, a Pokemon Direct was announced to be held on the 9th. Speculation was once again rampant. Sword and Shield were games. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But now it was time for the next installment in the series. Which is weird considering the game was only out for 2 months. Gen 4 fans were ready for their remake, and Gen 5 fans were sleeping, and Gen 1 fans were ready for Let's Go 2 for some reason. The Direct was here, though. It opened up with small stuff nobody really cared much about, but then we got the announcement that shook the world to its core. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX. Oh, and Sword and Shield DLC was announced too, I guess. We were introduced to Galarian Slowpoke, new characters, and Venusaur and Blastoise getting Gigantamaxes, because they actually remembered these starters existed too, not just Charizard. And the Galar starters even got G-Maxes. All this taking place in a mysterious island east of the Galar map. We were then presented to a different scene south of the map. A frozen tundra with even more new characters and new Reggies. New customization options were even here. Then we were introduced to 3 new forms of Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. The trailer ends with 2 new legendary Pokemon. A really cool bear, and a really weird looking rabbit deer king thing. News of the DLC was almost non-existent for the first few months, with some small news being Zarude's reveal being on Pokemon Day. On March 26, a trailer was revealed showcasing news we already knew about, but we got the scene of us being introduced to Kubfu, so it evens out. The news on the DLC remained scarce. While this was going on, a certain pandemic happened. Production was halted on many productions. On June 1st, we got the announcement of a trailer happening on the 2nd. And then, on the 2nd, we get the next batch of DLC news, showing off Galarian Slowbro, our new rivals, and again, stuff we already knew. It was the same for the Crown Tundra minus the new legendary raids and a nerfed version of the PW2 from Black and White 2 called the Galarian Star Tournament. The Isle of Armor got a June release date of June 17th, only a few days from this trailer. On June 16th, before the Isle of Armor, a Pokémon Presents was announced to celebrate the launch of the first DLC pack. With this presentation, they revealed the long-awaited Pokémon Snap sequel. At least, I want to believe someone waited. I know I did, but some people apparently didn't play this game. That's it, you, Soul. Soul, you need to play this game. Pokemon Cafe Mix was also revealed, and Pokemon Smile was revealed and released. Yay, I guess. And Pokemon Home Support. The Isle of Armor was now out. While this was the more underwhelming of the two DLC, it still offered many of quality of life changes and just cool things to do that kept Pokemon fans happy. July and August were pretty bare months, with Isle of Armor being out and on everyone's minds. This was okay. It needed some room to breathe, right? Well, then on September 29th, the next news wave came. The first 20 seconds reminding you that the base game and Isle of Armor existed, before cutting away to more Crown Tundra features. We were also shown Gotcha, a Pokemon music video performed by Bump of Chicken to celebrate the release of the DLC and the series as a whole, which to this day remains the most amazing piece of Pokemon animation to date. You can debate me on this. And on October 22nd or 23rd, depending on where you were, the Crown Tundra was released, which was the superior DLC. Honestly, it felt like the Isle of Armor was a spoonful, and the real DLC was this. But with that, the 2020 promotional cycle of Pokemon concludes. Now, I'd love to stay and chat some more about this great generation, but unfortunately, I've got a flight to Paldea I need to catch. But I'm leaving you in some very, very capable hands to take over from here.
Lumi did a really good job talking about the DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield, but now let's move into the end game. 2021 is here, the final saga in the Generation 8 series of Pokemon games. DLC's been out for a while now. Fans are bored of Sword and Shield, even though they're still enjoying the multiplayer. And this year is the series' 25th anniversary. Pokemon Presents is coming. It's only a matter of time, and when February rolls around, we got a Pokemon Presents on the 26th. Gen 4 fans were ready, Gen 5 fans were sleeping, and Gen 1 fans were still ready for Let's Go 2 for whatever reason. Then it happened. We received the Gen 4 remakes, but in the form we were expecting, no. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, a faithful remake of the regional duo, even retaining a chibi art style mimicking the original games. A remake that would even be developed by a third-party company, Ilka, who prior to this had only done some modeling work for Game Freak through Pokemon Home. Section of fans were not happy, understandably expecting a reimagining of the Sinnoh region in a style similar to Pokemon Sword and Shield, and for a lot of people, Gen 4 was their entry point into the series, so seeing it essentially tossed around like a rag doll was not the most exciting sight to behold. We were also introduced to Pokemon Legends Arceus. This was a big surprise, a prequel to the Generation 4 games set in the past, focusing on the creator of the Pokemon universe, Arceus, proclaimed the god of the Pokemon world. And while this game looked to be promising, it was also met with criticism due to poor performance in its reveal trailer. The Presents, while giving fans what they asked for, while some were disappointed, was seen as a bit of a failure. The remake that we were given didn't seem to stay up to the standards of what a Pokemon remake should be, and the series' step into a new direction with Legends seemed to be a risk that fans were wary of. Of course, the true losers were Generation 5 fans. We're still waiting for that. And who knows what those remakes will look like now. Could it be Legends? Could it be Chibi? We'll have to wait and see on that part of the story. This also started a new trend for the marketing team for Pokemon. Pretty much radio silence. It's true that in the past, we would get months worth of zero information and new footage, and then once the summer came, once the Presents and the Direct season came in June, we would get information. But this time, the Pokemon Company wanted to try a new tactic. For the next 2 months, there would be absolutely no information. We'd be waiting until May 26th, and that was only the release dates. Legends would try a bit of a different approach, of course, with it being further along than BDSP's due date of November. Both of these games are mainline, but Legends would take the January spot, being the first mainline game to be released outside of November since X and Y came out in October of 2013. June, as I mentioned before, shockingly was silent. While in July we did get the announcement of the Switch OLED and we got a little bit more gameplay, it did not show very much. The game looked better than in its February trailer, and that was a good sign. But other than that, we got nothing. July was strange because something seemed off. There should have been news. We were waiting a very, very, very long time. August rolls around, and on the 13th, we got the announcement of a Pokemon Presents for the 18th. It seemed that we were getting back to this. I don't really recall being super excited about this, although a lot of people were, and as we got there, I did get excited. But impressions and expectations are a big factor with all of this. For a lot of people, what we saw in February looked average. It wasn't that great. And coupled with the lack of news up to this point, a lot of people had a lot of lacking interest. Some people were scared for these games to come out. And the 18th rolls around in the Direct. Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Cafe, a lot of mobile stuff was coming, and we're waiting on the first bit of news, and that was BDSP, the first real mainline news. It opened up showing lines from the game, showing us the overworld, and it looked a lot more polished. They even started talking about the Link's Awakening aesthetic, the blur effect. It was something that the community spoke about and noticed in the trailer immediately. After that, they cut to showing gym leaders, the online lobby, contests, and a new Grand Underground. These were some of the fun parts of the game. We would ultimately learn some of the only changes came in the Grand Underground. Then it cut to showing off Team Galactic, who somehow looked worse than before cutting to the box art legendaries. And this was not the biggest thing for the fan base. No new forms, no new designs, no evolutions, nothing that we've seen with gimmicks for old legendaries in the past. This further confirmed that indeed this was a faithful remake of the Sinnoh region in its entirety, put into 3D and sold for $60 MSRP, which is a jump up from what games were sold for on the Nintendo DS, of course. The games came out, and after that, Legends Arceus was the game they wanted us to care about in this Presents, and it looked a lot better. Catching mechanic worried some people because it seemed a little bit too different from what we knew, but that wasn't the point. The game takes place in the Hisui region, which is what Sinnoh was called before it became what it is known as today. We also got the reveal of brand new regional variants, Hisuian forms, which was cool considering that this game was first announced to be the concept of ancient forms and Sinnoh forms. And that's a neat trend to see. It's not just in new gens that we can get these forms, we can see them in past gens as well if they take us to a different point in time. Also, Pokemon can kill you. It is what it is. All in all, the Presents was successful for Legends because it introduced new things to the series that seemed scary, but would later save Generation 8 from being even more poorly received. That's getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's keep going. September rolls around and we get pretty much nothing until about the 28th. For BDSP, we learn that the Poketch is back and can be added onto the side of your screen, considering there is no bottom screen now. But HMs are gone. You cannot use Bidoof and B-Barrel as HM slaves anymore, but you can use any Pokemon. Poffin Making and Amity Square are back, and people already know that they're in the game. These are nothing new. They're showing a lot of things that are just same old, stuff that's already been there. These are faithful remakes, as they continue to prove to us. The real thing that was worth paying attention to is Legends Arceus, and for Legends we learned about new ways of transportation, being the noble Pokemon that graced the region. We learned about the Wardens and some of the story questions and story beats that they'll hit on, something to do that is similar to gyms in terms of moving yourself forward in the story, but it is a little bit different. We learned about Jubilife Village being the hub area, learned about customization being back for your trainer. We also see some evolutions for Scizor, or forms for Scyther and Scizor. Cleavor, that had not previously been in Pokemon, continuing to add to the newness of these games. And looking back at this trailer, there was a weird sense of urgency. They forgot that they had a bunch of main series games to advertise, so they started to really just push as much as humanly possible down our throats. And while everyone's talking about Legends Arceus, BDSP was still the main course. So it was an interesting marketing strategy that seems to have backfired in the end. On the 19th of Spooky Month, October, we received a bit of static video of someone dying. apparently. And then on the 21st, the video footage was restored and we got the reveal of Hisuian Zorua and Zoroark, which did look really cool. Unfortunately, Game Freak continues their tradition and Nintendo's tradition in recent years of killing main characters. I'm not going to question that. And then on the 26th, we got 2 new trailers for these games. For BDSP, we got the reveal of Candace and Volkner, who are in the game still. Wonderful. We also got to see that Team Galactic and Cyrus are in the game. Great. And for Legends Arceus, we got gameplay of the murderers in action. Then, of course, we make it to the big month. Release month for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. They're coming out soon, and it was a standard leading up to release. The only difference is that people weren't excited for it, which was a first. Even with Let's Go. I was excited. I was excited that we got to use Meltan and Melmetal outside of Go. But with these games, they really didn't have much going on. No new Pokemon, no new forms, just the nostalgia of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl being remade. Now, of course, the rant is over, and on November 5th, we got a Japanese overview trailer. And once again, standard for these types of games. 11th, we got the reveal of Pal Park becoming Romanus Park. Something that we didn't really know much of, but it probably had something to do with Legendaries is what we were speculating. On the 19th, the games were leaked and data mined, and it's worth mentioning that these data mines were wild, even without the day 1 patch. Music wasn't there, post-game was locked off. There were a lot of strange things about this data mine because the patch hadn't come yet. The 19th comes out, the games are out. Day 1 patch, and it added the post-game. That's pretty strange. It added the OST. A lot of this stuff didn't come as is. The game was a buggy mess before the patch. Walking Pokemon had collisions and you couldn't even get soft blocked. It was very strange. You could be soft blocked in a variety of different areas. It was a little weird. Generation 4 fans were not happy. Some of them were. Me, hi, Linky, commentating this video. I enjoyed these games, but other people, not the biggest fans. December rolled around and we started to finally get some updates on Legends Arceus. We got the reveal of Hisuian Voltorb. We got some other regional variants. We got more information about the clan members as the month rolled on. This was all nice and interesting for the lead up. And then eventually we got one of the final trailers for Legends Arceus. On the 7th of January, we got the Japanese overview trailer and the US got a 13-minute overview trailer on the 13th. On the 19th, we got another weird like 360 view trailer showing off the Hisui region. Another one of Game Freak's and the Pokemon Company's attempts to change up the marketing. The 25th, we got a trailer teasing the final starter evolutions, which were going to be new forms if you saw the data mine. And when Legends Arceus was released on the 28th of January, Generation 8 was complete. The game being a new step forward for the franchise, and it seemed that this was the ending of the generation. And let's just say, this was the perfect way. The game wasn't perfect, but unlike the remakes that came before it, it was trying something new, and risking that sort of imperfection is definitely worth the reward of us Pokemon fans getting something new. At that point, Gen 8 comes to a close, almost. February 27th, we got a free content update for Legends Arceus called Daybreak, a free DLC of sorts. We never got more DLC for Legends Arceus at that point. However, after we got the reveal of the 9th generation, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Generation 8 had its ups and downs, but despite this, the generation did some things right. Some small things. Thus, the gen felt like a big transitional moment for the series. From testing the waters with Sword and Shield to making small open areas with Legends Arceus, it's safe to say that we can look forward to what's to come with the future of Pokemon. I have been Linky. Thank you guys for taking a dive back in time with me, going over Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Gen 8 was a crazy ride. I'll see you in Paldea.
I want to give a special shout out to Podcast Draco, Winky, and Lumio's Poster helping me make this video. I don't know what I would have done without you guys. You have been such a big help. I want to also give a shout out to our Patreons over on Patreon, which you guys can support for just $1. And also a shout out to channel member Ali Vania. I don't know what I would have done without you guys. Since I've started, it has been a wild ride, and I would have never thought that I'd be here making content like this. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in Paldea. My name is KamTendo. Thank you so much again. Love you and see you in Gen 9. Bye.